is the Jackery Explorer 1000 Pro. And it's only 25 pounds total, so it's very portable. So as you know, I've been using Jackery for, I don't know, 4 years maybe. Got the little 500, and that's been useful for charging my cameras and computer especially. But just taking it even on like canoe trips and camping trips and stuff, it's been valuable. But this is double the power, so I can, even without recharging it, I can take it and charge my computer, I don't know, 5-6 times, and cameras many more times than that. And really what I like about all these portable systems, when just kind of living this lifestyle, there's always a situation where you don't have power. Maybe you don't have a generator, or instead of using a generator you can just use this. But my biggest concern is my freezer down in the cellar. So if I don't have enough power generated and stored in the eventual full-time permanent solar setup and storage system, then this is a perfect backup. I can just plug the freezer into this, and that'll keep it going for at least a day, probably quite a bit more than that if the freezer's full and frozen, and everything in it solidly frozen. So that's what I'm going to use this for. I got some stuff in the greenhouse to charge as well, or to power that water pump for circulating the water in the water tank, and also for circulating that water for irrigation. I'm going to switch to using mainly this one. I get these panels set up, and again, if I have them close to the reflective exterior of the greenhouse, it'll generate power that much faster. Anyway, I'm going to take it inside and plug my computer in.
And then we said we'd come back here, have like lunch or whatever, and be right here, and then make a plan for the afternoon.
Yeah.
Got this. What's up? That's unreal. Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
so nice too.
You still have socks on the fire in there?
Those are, I switched them.
No.
Pain.
If you put your wine in there, it'd be good too. It's gonna be sweet because I already put sugar in yours too.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for telling me. It's gonna be sweet now?
Yep.
Perfect, just what I like it.
That's what I figured.
You just let me do it first because you knew I...
Yeah.
Yeah, you know all that now.
No.
No, you can't do it now.
Oh, they're wet.
They're not gonna dry. They've been there all night then.
Are turning brown, red and yellow, soon they'll be falling down. Now, I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. Autumn comes too soon.
Do you want mayonnaise or just cheese and
Both, please. Mayonnaise and mustard.
oh, mustard too?
Well, if you have it there, yeah, please.
Okay.
Going all in.
Smell, Kelly. No, oh, oh, look at that. Hey everybody, welcome back to the cabin. Thanks for watching that video. Well, that was a fun few days. Last couple of days of September, a bit of October, beginning of October, and a good friend of mine, been friends for almost 30 years, I think. Yeah, would be more than 30 years. Yeah, just over 30 years. And we've been doing stuff like that together since back then. Really getting together in the fall, especially. We live far enough apart that our lives weren't, family lives weren't really that integrated, but like I said, at least annually we'd get together for these fall hunts. And a lot of times it's more of a fun hunt. It's roaming the woods with our bows and quite often getting game, harvesting game, but a lot of times not. But always having fun and always learning more about the land. And this being my third year of intensively hunting this property and discovering this property, I'm still learning. And what we discovered this week was got a good handle on the game patterns, the game movement. A moose, even though I don't have a moose tag this year, I think the hunt camp that's nearest to me does have an adult moose tag. So I might get together with them and hunt the moose season, which is third week of October. And in the future, hopefully we get some tags for this area and we're able to hunt it now that we're discovering so much about it. So 3 days. First day we went for a walk down the trail, looking mainly for grouse and rabbits with our bows. Didn't see any, but we did, and we were following the tracks of a couple of what turned out to be coyotes. I thought they were wolves by the howls, but well, everything's hybrid in this area anyway, so it's going to be a lot of wolf genes in those coyotes. But either way, canines, and we were able to get pretty close to them. We ended up walking down this trail, and as we made went around a bend, one of them was standing there facing away from us, glanced back, trotted off, and then the other one jumped into the path and went along with it. Next morning, what happened? Next morning we went looking at the end of the marsh, some waterfowl down there and some grouse and another small game. Ducks and geese, especially at the end of this pond. And at the end of that pond, there's the beaver dam and then a meadow below it, which is common. You get the dam, which holds back the majority of the water. Then you get a trickle of a stream leaving that, and then everything dries up below it and around that bottom end of the dam. And it's a rich habitat for things like moose and deer, and bear. So we were walking along there, just following sign. Headed back up into the woods onto a rocky outcropping and ended up walking right up on a bedded cow moose and her calf within about 35 yards. I didn't capture any of this on film because I was just carrying a GoPro. And when we're actively hunting, especially with bows, you have to be pretty quiet and nimble, and fumbling around with a camera is really counterproductive. So I didn't capture any of those two things. The next morning, got up and around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and right from here on the porch you could hear a cow moose calling for about half an hour, just continuously, barely a break between calls. And that was really interesting to hear. And then a fox was barking over here across the meadow, owls hooting in the trees across the meadow. And we ended up going into that same marsh at the back end of that pond and filmed sunrise. Had some waterfowl come in, but weren't able to get shots with our bows. So that was fruitless from a game standpoint, but it was pretty interesting experience because two cow moose, by the sounds of it, one off to our right, one off to our left, were calling, and it sounded like two separate bulls came and joined them, and then were grunting and then headed back up, basically over to where we had walked up on that cow and calf the day earlier. So that was really interesting. While we were there, and all the moose were calling, the wolves and the coyotes were over here by the cabin howling, which was interesting. And they really sounded like wolves at that point. And I'm not sure if the camera picked it up because, again, I was just using a GoPro at that point. So probably not. It would have been in the video if it was, and I haven't edited that part yet. What else? Went back here and saw lots of waterfowl again, ducks and geese. Didn't get any shots at them. Saw 4 spruce grouse, which is not as common as the rough grouse around here. I've only seen spruce grouse, I think, one other time here. Mostly rough grouse, and we only saw one of those on all of our hikes over the 3 days. But ironically, there was one 10 feet behind the cabin here yesterday that Callie flushed and flew off. So despite the fact that we had a brood here, and there has been I've been randomly sighting them, I was surprised to see that there's not that many around right now. So presumably the foxes and the other predators have been getting them. The other thing that's abundant at this time of year is mushrooms. So we're able to harvest chanterelles, lion's mane, reishi, chicken of the woods, lobster, oyster. I think that might be it. Yeah, the shiitake logs everybody keeps asking about still haven't flushed, but I can see the mycelium kind of spreading throughout the logs, so I'm assuming that's probably not going to happen this year now that it's getting this cold, but I think probably in the spring we'll get a good flush out of those logs, and then maybe they'll last for a year or two doing that. So I think that's about it. Like I said, a really fun week, and now I've got a really not so fun week. I have to put that metal roof on. So I've been taking the sheets with the four-wheeler and dragging them back here. They're 15.5 feet long, so not fun. Using a couple of 2x4s as a sort of a travois, skid, angle skid off the back of the four-wheeler so that the metal panels don't bend, and dragging them back here. Now, fortunately, there's not that many of them, and it's pretty straight go, so they're pretty standard pieces. But that's what I'm going to try to get done over the next couple of days. Jump up here and get as much of the metal roof on before the rain hits over 3 days from now, and then probably have to take a break for a couple of days and then get back at it. So anyway, if you want to watch that video, that'll be on probably both channels. Now I have something to talk to you about on the Shawn James channel, actually, as far as the content's concerned too. So you might want to check there for the next week or two and see what I'm talking about. Anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you back here at the cabin next time. Take care.